to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Worcester podcast. We are a community built on love, hope, and justice. Our goal is to inspire people to take on the challenges of a changing world. Each week we'll bring you a reflection from our minister, the Reverend Aaron Payson, recorded during our Sunday service. Maybe it'll move you, challenge your thinking, or even stir up a little righteous indignation. That's all welcome here. Thanks for listening.
The poet Caroline Meller writes, "I am the dream awakening. I am the returning of the light. I am the tough green pushing up through the paved stones. And I am the first kiss of sunlight on the unfurling petals of the snowdrop. I am the wind, which whispers the gentle pull of home to the migratory bird. I am the drop of ice melting on the mountainside with its great dream of the ocean. I am the sap rising in the blossom tree just before it reveals its sticky buds to the sky. I am the riotous celebration humming away beneath the earth's mantle of frozen sleep. I am the rousing of the bee from its winter slumber and the soft pad of Mother Wolf's paw on the snow as she prepares to birth her pups. I am hope, potential, rebirth, and promise. I am the kindling breath which transforms a spark of inspiration into a blazing torch. Give me the silent crescent moon rising over the sea, and I will build you a bridge of silver light so you can walk across and lie in it. Give me the frost-hardened wilderness, and I will lay my cloak of radiant green life over it. Give me the healer, the poet, the midwife, the craftsmith, the prophet, and I will replenish her essence and make her new again. I am Brigid, Bast, Inanna, Hesta. I am the fierce protectress of the sacred fire." The poet's words bespeak a threshold moment in the turning of the seasons. I know it's hard to think that this moment in this place is a threshold between cold and not so cold. But I imagine that our friends from First Unitarian will return to their own congregation and my sister minister and explain that we are a hearty people, that we persevere. Not to mention the fact that this choir has endured having to not sing last week because of snowstorms and singing in the bitter cold this week. It is not a message from above. It is a challenge that you all have met, and because of it, we are warm. The ancients called this time Imbolic, a word that has a number of possible origins that reflect both an ancient agrarian and a Roman culture that bespeak a time of goat gestation and milk, as well as the practice of ritual cleansing. Both point to a time of preparation for the return of life, both physical and social. Additionally, this moment has been associated, as the poet suggests, with a number of ancient divines. The goddess Breed, who has long been associated with healing and hearth and home, as well as poetry and inspiration. Hesta and Vesta, the Roman and Greek goddesses of the home and sacred fire. Gaia, the earth mother. Inanna, the Sumerian goddess of love and fertility and warfare. And Athena, the Greek goddess of wisdom and crafts. All who point to this threshold moment as a time of transformation, of emerging life, both physical and inspirational. These deities were Christianized in the form of Saint Bridget in the 5th century, Irish monastic who was named after the goddess of fire, who is said to have established the first monastery in Ireland. She who chose a religious life over the cultural conventions of marriage and family. Having grown up on her family's farm, she is said to have shown an early proclivity for charity, giving away milk and butter to the poor in her community, which story says was miraculously replenished. Many stories tell of miracles associated with the saint, healings, compassion for the poor and animals, transforming a lake into beer for lepers, among other things. And legend has it that she was born when her mother was sold to a Druid priest and his wife. Her mother gave birth to her literally on the threshold of the Druid's door, neither inside nor out. She became the patron saint of poetry and learning and healing and livestock. Her feast day is today, coinciding with the Celtic festival of Imbolic. To be honest, many historians question whether Saint Bridget ever truly existed, suggesting that her personage is a fabrication over time meant to convert Celts to Christianity, which seems most plausible given the parallel nature of her deeds to the goddesses that predate her. All of this is to say that this day, whether ascribed to Celtic or Christian origins, is a day to reflect on the threshold moments of turning and awakening. One of the most inspirational aspects of this ancient tradition has to do with the way that nomadic cultures, when they transitioned to agrarian activities, and it has to do with the ancient burial practices, which included the building and maintenance of sacred mounds and hillsides. Agrarian hills where early farmers nurtured crops. It's been surmised that many of these mounds, dug deep into the side of hills, had entrances which often aligned perfectly with the new sun at this moment in the year. And as it ever so slightly crept over the horizon, would shine its way first deep into the dark crevice of those mountain burial plots, as if to say the first thing we must do is warm and awaken the ancient bones of those whose memory we are but a legacy, giving rise to a moment when memory becomes inspiration, and inspiration becomes transformation, and transformation becomes new life. I think in this moment we need Imbolic more than ever. And I would suggest that we too are privy to signs that life will again return. We who are weary with the way of the world in this moment, who yearn for substantive changes to our political and social order, must continue our protest and our critical critiques of the current state of affairs in our country and across the globe. And we who are also able to pause in moments of worship to remember that while much of the world continues in darkness, there is progress and a growing possibility for change. Brigid, the keeper of the healing wells, places where people sought clarity and restoration and blessing. Wells are deep places. They invite us to look beneath the surface. Healing in this tradition is not about pretending everything is fine. It's about telling the truth about what hurts. And the truth is that our nation carries deep wounds. Racial injustice that continues to shape lives and communities, economic inequality that leaves millions struggling, political distrust that corrodes our ability to work together, environmental harm that threatens our shared future. Healing begins with honesty. Healing begins with listening. Healing begins with the courage to name what is broken. Our UU commitment to justice, equity, and compassion is a healing practice. It asks us to draw from the well, to seek clarity, to tell the truth, to repair what has been harmed. A week ago, I had the privilege and honor of marching with colleagues from across the Commonwealth for a prayer conference at the State House. It was there that a small delegation went to invite the governor to join us, though she was not yet in her office, and to present her with a demand for prophetic public administrative action. Among the asks were that she set up systems to protect those classes of people who were protected under the Massachusetts Constitution, a broader set of protections than are available in our federal Constitution. That she refused to use state-owned assets to assist the federal agencies currently terrorizing cities across our nation and our Commonwealth. That she refused additional assistance by other state agencies for such ventures, and that she set up a means to monitor and report on such activities in order to hold our federal government accountable for its actions. Amen. Last week, the governor did a lot of what was asked of her. Not just by the clergy who went to visit her when she wasn't there, but by a host of groups across the Commonwealth, reinforcing MA's designation of sensitive locations where ICE and the Border Patrol are not allowed to enter. Places like this one, congregations, places like hospitals and schools and such, and not engaging in any agreements to assist or support the federal effort with state resources, other than has already happened. Many have lauded the governor for her actions, and I too believe it's a good first step. It is the glimmer of sunshine awakening the bones of patriots, if you will. And it is only a first step. To be clear, this moment requires that we rethink the entire system that is the foundation of ICE and the Border Patrol, and move away from the origins of these activities that are grounded in the control, the terrorizing, the incarceration, the death, and the forced removal of black and brown bodies in our country. Furthermore, we must insist that those whose actions have ended in the deaths of citizens be held accountable and prosecuted, including those who lead the agencies who are responsible for these ongoing operations. Finally, we need to hold our elected leadership to account for their complicit actions and feckless inaction in the face of such disastrous policies. In many ways, the United States is living through its own Imbolic moment. We feel the strain of political division, the weight of economic uncertainty, the ache of communities fraying under pressure. We are not in the deep darkness of despair, but neither are we basking in the warmth of renewal. We are somewhere between doing what we can to make our voices and our yearnings known as we wait, watch, hope, and wonder about what will come next. Meanwhile, we must continue to embody the truth of Imbolic and call upon our capacity for the sacred work of warmth. Remembering Brigid of the Hearth as the keeper of the flame, the one who ensures that no one is left out in the cold. In ancient Ireland, the hearth was not just a place to cook. It was the center of survival. Without it, there was no warmth, no food, no gathering place, no home. This week, a small group of volunteers met to organize and promise to keep the overflow shelter at the Xavier Center, operated by St. John's Catholic Church, open every night during the month of February. When agencies in Worcester could not find the capacity to do so, 50 volunteers stepped up and said, "I will come." What warmth looks like hospitality in a time of frigid weather and in a time of suspicion. Warmth looks like compassion in a time of cruelty. Warmth looks like the community in a time of isolation. In a nation chilled by fear and division, warmth becomes a radical act. When we choose to welcome the stranger, when we choose to listen across differences, when we choose to show up for those who are vulnerable, immigrants, unhoused neighbors, people struggling with mental health or economic hardship, we are tending Brigade's fire. This week also saw the gathering again of those who are deeply concerned that temporary protective status will end for our Haitian neighbors, brothers, and sisters in the coming days, and are organizing to respond to what seem to be the inevitable threats to their presence among us. Our Unitarian Universalist theology reminds us that every person carries inherent worth and dignity. That worth is a spark, and we are called to protect it and to nurture it and to grow it. Then there is Brigade of the Forge, the smith, the maker, the one who shapes raw metal into tools and weapons and art and possibility. The forge is not a gentle place. It is a place of heat and pressure and transformation is not passive. It does not happen by accident. It is shaped intentionally, courageously, persistently. In the old Imbolic traditions, people brought their tools to be blessed for the coming year. Plows and hammers and needles and pens, whatever they needed to do their work. Today we bring our own tools, our time, our resources, our commitments, our courage. Democracy is not self-maintaining. Justice is not self-renewing. Community is not self-sustaining. They require forging. They require us to bless our tools and then to use them. To organize, to vote, to advocate, to show up, to speak out, to build relations, and to imagine boldly. With the arrest this past week of journalists who were acting on their First Amendment right to free speech and the long tradition in our country of freedom of the press, we know now that part of this week will be to defend and protect our access to information that tells the truth about what's happening in our country and in our world. It will mean continuing to pressure our government and the creative capacity to find truth amidst the cacophony of voices that claim to have it. It will mean developing reliable networks of information and sources of trust. It will, in days to come, rely more heavily on each of us to work with each other to ferret out the truth, including our willingness to speak up when falsehood is proclaimed. And yes, I've had this happen this week. I was so moved to hear that Drake May and his family were paying for the funeral of Alex Preddy. So moved by that I shared it, only to discover, because of the courage of a friend, that it wasn't true. Even those things that inspire us that are not true need to be challenged. And we all have a responsibility to do that with care and compassion and humility. Only as we continue to have the courage to engage each other with humility and forthrightness will the truth emerge. Finally, we turn to Candlemas, the festival of blessing the light, not because winter is over, but because the light is growing. It is a ritual of hope in the midst of uncertainty, Hope in this tradition is not naive optimism. It is not pretending everything is fine. It is the disciplined attention to the light that is already emerging. Hope is noticing the small acts of courage that ripple outward. Hope is trusting that justice grows from seeds planted long before we see them harvest. Hope is believing that our actions matter, even when the outcome is not clear. In a day when many feel overwhelmed and discouraged, Candlemas invites us to bless the light we have and to commit ourselves to its increase. When we bring these faces of Brigid together, the forge, the hearth, and the well, we find a spiritual map for this moment. Warmth for the weary, healing for the wounded, courage for the work ahead. Imbolic invites us to recommit ourselves to these practices, to bless our tools, to rekindle our inner fire, to trust the slow return of light. This is the work of Unitarian Universalist community. This is the work of a people committed to justice and compassion and beloved community. This is the work of those who believe that another world is possible and that we have a role in shaping it. As we leave this moment of reflection, I invite you to choose one aspect of Bridget's to carry with you in the week ahead. If you need warmth, and who does not need warmth in this moment, be the hearth. If you need clarity, go to the well. If you need courage, step into the forge. Choose one act of warmth, one act of healing, one act of justice, not because the world will change overnight, but because the light is returning and we are a part of its return. May Brigid's fire warm us, her well refresh us, and her forge strengthen us as we go forth in the days ahead. The poet concludes, Melior concludes, "Tonight I bestow my gifts of power and courage at the hearth of your soul. Power to shed all that which no longer serves you, and courage to clear your heart and mind for the dawn that awaits. For I am the longing of the spirit which refuses to be consumed by a narrative of fear and chooses instead to place itself vivaciously on the side of love. I am the song which cannot be silenced, for it is carried deep in the bones of the land. I am the flame that cannot be doused, for it is kept aglow in the hearts of the free. I am the wellspring of knowledge and the milk of life force. From the darkness of the earth I give light to the fires that will forge the new world. I am the stirring in your belly that knows what you are capable of, and just how much your gifts are needed now. For you are as much a part of this world as the rivers and the forests and the creatures and the stars in the night sky. All are sacred to me, for I am the exalted goddess of land, sea, and sky. I am the fire within which we will not be contained any longer. I am the quickening. I am the serpent uncoiling. I am Imbolic. I am the dreaming. I am the dreaming of awakening. Amen. And blessed be.
Thanks for tuning in. If you're just crossing our path, either new to this congregation or curious about Unitarian Universalism, check out our website, uucworcester.org. You'll find lots of information there about our beliefs, the 8 guiding principles, religious exploration for children and adults, our social action initiatives, and the many groups we offer to help people connect and have fun. And consider joining us, in person or online, on a Sunday morning at 10 a.m. We'd love to meet you.